All right, everybody, welcome to the first episode of the DharmaDank podcast. And I am a TikToker, YouTuber. I've been doing this for kind of 10 years, almost 10 years, but I've only gotten some modicum of success recently. And this happened, I started doing it before COVID. In 2016, I made a channel called The Haterade Parade, where I was sort of trying to talk about social issues disguised as hate rants, and that was fun and that was shot well, but I didn't really know how to do it in a fast manner because I was kind of like overproducing it at the time. It doesn't look overproduced today, but if you look at it now, and then I tried to do a spiritual channel because I've been a guide and coach for a lot of people, hundreds of people. I've helped probably like 4 different people reach the heights of success in their different industries, and then probably like 100 people get their dream jobs and stuff like that. And I did most of this for free. I kind of did it all for free because I just got good at it. And this was sort of an accident of fate, because when I was a young boy, my mother would tell me I can achieve anything I apply myself to, and I told that to everyone I met, that they can achieve anything they applied themselves to. And then when I was around 27, I talked to my mother, who was kind of depressed, and she said, "Oh, I think I wasted my life." And I had to stop and tell her, like, "No, you can't say that, because you told me how I can do anything I apply myself to, and I've taught that to hundreds of people, and hundreds of people in the city have a much better life because of you, because of your influence. So you just simply cannot say you wasted your life. It's not a true thing, it's not a fact, right?" And then she was shocked and she said, "What? I'm not talking about those people. I'm talking about you, because you're my son." And I was just flabbergasted because I didn't realize she was speaking genetically. I thought she meant just that's the nature of human potential. Anyway, so I tried to like distill my teachings and put it on YouTube, and I tried to make it sort of, I don't know, I was modeling myself after other spiritualists on the platform, and it was good. It was good stuff, but it didn't feel like it was my voice on necessarily, and I felt a lot more performative when I was doing that. And I kind of took a break because, again, it was overproduced. I had people helping me, and it just was so much time and effort, and I felt like it's just wasn't fast enough to generate the amount of content necessary, because I guess a lot of this game is quantity over quality in a sense. I mean, quality is important, but quantity seems to be a little more important, because sometimes videos you barely work on, they take off, right? And then I just somebody asked me to make a video on packing comic books, because I was sending comic books to this person to clean and press so I can get them graded. And that's a whole other thing in the comic book world. But he was so impressed, he told me, like, if I made a video of me, packing comics for the service, he would give me some free service, right? So I did that video, and I put it on a separate channel called Dank Comics, right? Because I go by DharmaDank. And that video did really well. And then I just decided, hey, maybe I should just make comic book content. So that's what I did. I made comic book related content for a while with a show called Dank Comics. And I still had that spiritual bent. I still approached it like a storyteller, and I would disseminate comic books in that manner. And that channel did well. It did okay, and I started to build a community, and it turns out I found out later I inspired a bunch of people to start going and making their own channel, and they've grown much bigger than me over the years. And this happened during COVID. I'm part of that COVID sourdough generation where I started making sourdough during COVID, and watched a lot of YouTubers build a community online. And this was great because the best thing about the comic book community is that there's this whole thing called the A-OK package, Act of Kindness package, where people would just send each other packages of valuable comics for no reason. And that was such a joy to witness and heartwarming. Because a lot of, comic book collectors, at least American comic book collectors, are sort of middle-aged men who live, their whatever lives, but comic books and that hobby was a way to find community and feel connected. And ultimately, that is what art is, in my opinion. Art is about making work that's so specific and unique that it becomes more universal, because your specificity is what makes you universal. Because when you try to make stuff that everyone can connect to, it connects to no one. But when you make things that are very specific and about yourself, it tends to become more universal and make people feel connected. And then your art is, in a way, creating a sense of love and unity, consciousness, right? But a lot of young artists, when they're beginning, they're making art to be loved and not to become love, which is really what it's about. It's to become love. So I wanted to start this podcast on my birthday. We just passed like 2 days ago, and I was ready to, but on the way home from work on my bike, I was passing by some project housing, and a dozen kids bombarded me with gallons of water and dumped it on me while I was biking, and I almost crashed, and it kind of bummed me out. There was a heat wave, in their defense, I guess. Massive heat wave, record-breaking heat. So I wasn't like freezing or anything. It did, cool me down, and I wasn't actually hurt, but did feel a little violated. And I just wanted to turn back and be like, it's my fucking birthday, guys, But there was no use, because they were just trying to just keep throwing water at me. So eventually I just left and came home, and I was kind of feeling down, so I didn't have the energy to record the podcast on my actual birthday, but I'm doing it now. And this is something I want to do weekly or bi-weekly, and hopefully people will get something out of it. I have done podcasting before. I did like an interview show in the past where I would called Not for Profit, and Prophet spelled like Prophet Muhammad. And on that show, I would interview people on their journey to go after their passions. And that was a fun show, but it was hard to get guests together and do it very regularly. And I didn't have multiple mics at the time. I would have 2 people standing over a Yeti mic trying to get that. And then I tried other podcasts with a buddy of mine, but I don't know if we weren't on the same frequency really in a lot of ways. And they paused a lot. And this is before text-based editing. So now, because of text-based editing, it's a lot easier to edit. It's dramatically reduced editing time. So that's good for podcasting and video making and stuff like that. But over the years, people have continuously asked me to make podcasts again and again, because partially I have a lot to say, but also I'm told I have quite a podcasting voice. And I've heard from some people in the ASMR community that I have an unintentionally ASMR voice, which is kind of neat. It's neat because I don't have to whisper, if I wanted to do that. But yeah, I turned 41 years old now. And I know I look like I'm in my late 20s. I know this. But I think the secret to looking young or staying young is to look forward to getting old. That's what I tell people all the time. Stop holding on to your youth, holding on to your 20s. Just like look forward to aging, look forward to being in your 60s, because in a lot of age research, they'll tell you that your 60s is your best decade. It's the decade people feel most alive and at peace and connected to everything. So just like look forward to that if you're under 60. And when you look forward to getting older, you'll always stay bright-eyed and young and exploratory and curious. And that is the sort of stuff that keeps you staying young. Because when you think you know it all, that's the end of you, right? And unfortunately, I hear that, I see people in their 20s acting kind of apathetic because they think they know it all already. And I just want to be like, no, don't do that yet. Do you not know when you hit 40, being passionate about life is, people would kill for that, and that they wish they had it. But if you act like you're apathetic already in your 20s, you're in some danger, I think. And, in my 20s, I was always bright-eyed and optimistic, even though it didn't seem cool, because it does, I do register that it seems cooler to act like you know it all. And people give people a lot of power for that. And I wasn't like that. And I knew it wasn't to my advantage. And I thought I was naive. When I was in my 20s, I thought I was maybe a naive fool, but I didn't know how else to be. So I just maintained that kind of wide-eyed, optimistic worldview. But then once I, was entering my late 30s and hit my, the age of 40, I realized like, oh shit, I think I was right. My 20s self might have been correct. So now that I'm 41, I'm just gonna keep trying to look forward to aging, because technically, on paper, most people would think I'm kind of a fuck up, right? I don't have any savings to speak of. I'm living paycheck to paycheck, on the edge, really deep in Queens, working a kind of a dead-end job. But I think I'm happy, I don't really have regrets. I'm living day by day without any fears or regrets. And I think that's working out for me, I guess, so far. But I'm also making content. I do have hopes. I'm a screenwriter. I've directed films. I can act. And I write a bunch of different projects all the time. And you can check that out on my TikTok channel or my Instagram at DharmaDank Show. That's the handle for those two things. Because right now I'm on like day 11 of a 30 pitches in 30 days challenge, where I pitch 30 different, unique, commercially viable TV and film projects over the course of 30 days. See if I even have 30, because I think I do. I think I might have 30 unique projects. And once Hollywood figures it out, I don't know, maybe we can work together, make things happen. And I'm basically believe I'm probably like a bodhisattva, which is a somewhat enlightened being that stays grounded in this realm to help spread the Dharma to others, to help other people come to the light. And that's like their mission indefinitely. And that is the main reason I make the TikTok and the Instagram, the YouTube stuff. Because all my TikTok content I repost on Instagram and YouTube Shorts and stuff. So you can see it on all the different platforms. But I'm doing a podcast so I can kind of get people to know me a little deeper, a little more. See if I can ramble continuously for 30 minutes to an hour, and talk about different things that come to mind. But the reason I make the content is so I can teach everything I've learned to as many people as I can. Because, even though I've coached so many people and I've committed to a practice of radical non-transactionalism, where I help strangers for no reason and get nothing in return. Like, I've helped over 100 strangers move in the city that I don't know, and I'll never see them again. I've helped over 100 people get jobs, doing cover letter work, resume work, interview coaching. And not because it just feels good and I'm a great person or anything like that. It was more, I did this as a rebellion against the despair I felt that everything was transactional. And that really bummed me out, because as a child, I loved the idea of Santa Claus. I was never made to believe in Santa Claus, but I loved the idea of it. And I feel like as children, we're presented a world of abundance. And I just think as you get older, you realize it's not like that. There's a lot of separation that occurs, and unity consciousness and abundance. It's like we're taught that the world is of scarcity, all this stuff. And I just didn't want to believe it was true, that we were lied to so badly and that everything was so transactional, so painful. Even growing up, I would watch how when I was like 8, like all the goofy friends I had, they all would separate into different race groups and be all hard and tough. And then during puberty, how cruel people would become. It just boggled my mind. So anyway, by the time I was 18, I would have severe depression and despair about how cruel and selfish people seemed. And I didn't want to live in that world. So, like, really, right? And I was studying existentialism at the time as well in college. So I decided, all right, I'm going to have to take action to remake the world in the way I want it to be. And that's why I committed to radical non-transactionalism, doing wild acts of kindness for strangers and getting nothing in return, just to prove that it was possible, that we don't have to live in a transactional reality. And that was the reason. Because if everything's transactional, I don't want to live in this world. So I decided, okay, I have to do radical non-transactional acts just to prove it's possible at all, because otherwise I have no proof that it's even possible. Like, how would I know, right? Unless I just do it. And then I live in a world where it's possible. And that's the main reason, because, you know, people look everywhere for love here and there. Like, where is love? Where is love? But at some point you got to realize, like, you have to become love. And then you'll see love everywhere. And then you'll see love emerge. Until that point, I don't know if you know what love is, honestly. And that's something I came to realize. But I didn't know at the time. I didn't know what this was. You know, it was like a desperate fight it was a desperate effort to fight despair. That's ultimately how it began. Later on, though, it's like you do it more and more. It becomes like a muscle. You train and you start tapping into unity consciousness and oneness thinking in a way that is profoundly different than just meditating on it. Because if we are truly all one and you help someone for no reason, that makes total sense, right? And yet, you know, if you've never heard of this concept, if you've never done this, it seems very anathema or difficult or unreal. But if you claim to understand unity consciousness, it shouldn't feel that way at all. So there is this disconnect. There's a chasm between, you know, how you feel at Burning Man and how you go about your everyday life, right? But yeah, I learned a lot. And I've been I work with spiritual teachers as well, different major spiritual leaders and stuff. And they'll ask me often, like, who's your teacher? What did you read? How do you know so much? This and that. Or I'll say things and they're like, yeah, you know, that's part of that sutra, this sutra. And I'll tell people, like, actually, most of everything I learned as by being a barista for the last 25 years. More than anything, more than any teachers or sages or books, is by actively engaging with thousands of humans, hundreds every day, right? And just examining what it means, what humanity is, and stuff like that. For instance, one of the, and as a result, I have like a bunch of like theories of everything and rules to engage with all of reality. For instance, one of them is there's a fine line between love and obsession. They look the same, they feel the same, they even taste the same, but love is about freedom and obsession is about control. Love is about the freedom to be with you and not with you, and obsession is when you have to have it. And that's the difference. And they're not the same thing, but they, you know, people confuse the two. And if you understand this simple rule, you'll start to be able to reconfigure the nature of all your relationships in your life and really see it for what it is and who really loves you and who's just sort of obsessed with you. And it can be a sad, painful realization, especially if you realize this has to do with your parents, right? Because a lot of people's issues often stem from their upbringing, their parents and stuff. And that can be painful to realize, or realizing your parents, it's not that they don't love you, they don't know what love is, if you feel that way, right? And that's okay, because if you do know what love is, maybe you are just better than them, right? So like a lot of times there's this animosity and vitriol against parents because you wish they were better, they should have been done better, da 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 da. But at some point you realize, oh, maybe you are better than them in the first place. Maybe you were born better than them. So to expect them to be as good as you is almost unfair and cruel. Because if you were born better than them, then you're having unrealistic expectations, and they can't be better. They were never able to be better. And that helps you accept if you have flawed parents. It helps you accept what that is. Anyway, I have a lot to teach, things to talk about, and I would love for people to give me suggestions about topics to discuss. I've helped people with creativity. I'm sort of a creativity engine. I'm trying to prove that, I guess, or just like show you for real. I can talk a lot of shit. You might not know if it's real or not, and that's why I'm doing the 30 pitches in 30 days, just to give you a taste of like what I'm capable of. Because for me, creativity is about play and channeling more so than constructing and building and forcing. And I feel a lot of creatives are trying to make it happen, and they're trying to win, right? I guess because often, growing up as a child, you get attention from your parents for being good or bad, but they're rarely for nothing, which is deep down what everyone wanted. Because that's the original state of when you were in the womb, feeling connected to everything, and you're ripped away, and then you get a little bit of that back. It's a baby from your parents, but then it becomes conditional, though, the attention you get, and often for being really good or bad. And that's why people are like really bad. I think it's actually a cry for attention. But that's why, when you're being creative, people have this impulse to win or lose instead of just to play. And we used to all play like that as children. We all know infinite play. Like you get a bunch of 8-year-olds in a playground, and they will, even if they never met each other, they will just quickly introduce themselves to one another and start playing games instantly. And these games will morph and change. The rules of engagement will continually change so that there's no infinite winner or definite loser in the game playing, and the game playing can go on indefinitely if parents don't remove the kids from the playground, right? And infinite play is something that corporations are trying to introduce into their work environments, but they don't know how to, even though everyone knew how to. You all knew how to as children. You just forgot. It was just kind of taken away from you. And that's what scarcity mindset does. Separation mentality. Sadly, right? But we can get that back. And I'm here to help folks reconnect to that if they're having trouble. Because there's like a funny paradox about creativity, right? Which I like to think about. A paradox that exists in chess. So in the game of chess, there's something known as a Shannon number. And that number is the exact possible number of chess games that can ever exist in the universe. And that's an exact number. And that number is 10 to the power of 120. Okay, 10 to the power of 120. But the current estimate of every atom in the known universe right now is 10 to the power of 78. So somehow the game of chess has more combinations of play than the current estimate of every particle in the known universe, which is, seemingly paradoxical. So take that fact and apply that to your creativity. So your board is your medium. It could be a play, a song, a dance, whatever it is. And your pieces are your themes, your characters, your ideas, separate things, right? And the key to tapping the infinite is to play, not to know, because people don't play chess knowing every move that's going to happen. That's not really playing at all. And they play chess not knowing if they'll win or lose necessarily, right? And that's how you tap into that infinite combination kind of thing. And when you are able to play, when you make art, you'll start to tap into that infinite as well. So also, I wanted to talk about death meditation, Maranasati meditation, because in Buddhism, they do something called death meditation where they contemplate their death and their body rotting and dying, and how it, the point of it is to appreciate life more. Because when you really understand death, you start to really appreciate life. There's a phenomenon where, people that find out they're terminally ill, they'll start to smell everything and see how green the grass is for the first time ever, right? And that's why you don't care about Marvel films anymore, because after the end of Endgame, I knew it was happening as I was watching Endgame, and they reversed death. They basically brought half the people on Earth that died, they brought them back to life. And I knew from that moment, I was like, oh, they fucked up, because you'll never feel the intensity you felt before that moment in those films. Because once you can undo death, you've removed the greatest stakes there are to drama, but you've also removed the meaning of everything. Because death is what gives meaning to life. It's not the other way around, right? So that's sort of the point of Maranasati. And there's different versions of it. There's like new age versions now where they'll make you sit in a coffin and think about your funeral, stuff like that. But I wanted to make one that is sort of in lieu of the Marvel films. It's sort of a joke, tongue-in-cheek way of doing Maranasati, where you make an untimely death video. Because you know how in films, someone will die and then they're like, oh, look, there was an untimely death video they made in case they died, right? And then you pop in a video and they're like, hi, if you're watching this, I died, right? Except no one really makes those videos in real life, right? So, but what if we did make those videos in real life as a Maranasati practice? So that on your birthday, because I don't generally, honestly, I don't like celebrating my birthday, probably some trauma thing. But I decided I'm going to make a death video every year on my birthday to sort of take back my birthday, right? An untimely death video. And it's a silly video. It's a little tongue-in-cheek. And you tell everyone how you love them and not to mope around and stuff, but ultimately, and then and it helps you take stock of life and everything. But if you accidentally did die at some point by accident, you would have a collection of these videos that you could present at the funeral, and it will give closure to hundreds of people that may not have had closure otherwise. And that's the beauty of this practice, is that you can bring closure to people. Because when you suddenly die, there's no closure. But these videos will give that closure. So I'm going to do one right now, okay? Hey, if you're watching this, I died. It's probably an accident. It was nobody's fault. Nobody's fault. And I want everyone to know that I have no regrets. I feel I lived a full, rich life. And even if you think I don't like you or whatever, I genuinely love every single person I've encountered in this journey. I didn't want to go, I'm pretty sure. But hopefully I accepted it at that last moment. And if you can, I want you to be able to dance, get along, have a party, celebrate life in my honor. Don't just be all sad. I get nothing from that. That does not feed me in any way. For everyone to be horribly sad, the sadder you are, does not make me feel good, right? Be sad, if you have to be sad, but honestly, celebrate life in my honor. Because I would go to ecstatic dance practice all the time. People would ask me like, wow, how do you dance like that? And I'll tell them, I dance to celebrate life, to honor all the dead I know. That's who I dance for, the dead I know. So please, dance for me, if anything. Get to know one another. Call all the people in your phone book, one person at a time, just to connect and know that they exist. And live life fully. That's what I would want. That's all I want. Or not, whatever you can do. But just know that I love everyone. I love all of you. And I'm sorry if we had tensions and stuff. But I'm not taking that to the grave, you know what I'm saying? So, if I am conscious and cognizant post-death, just know that I'm missing you too, And remember, everyone, all is love. Love is all. Sorry, folks. Peace. So like that, something like that, right? And I think, yeah, it's a fun thing to do. Get around friends and family, and drink, smoke, do whatever you need to, and just make these goofy videos. Make it like a practice. I think if we normalize an untimely death video. It seems a little macabre at first blush, but I don't think it is. I think it's actually a transformative exercise. It's simple and a way to take back your birthday, especially if you're not a big fan of your birthday, because I know there's a lot of people that are closeted about how they hate their birthday. So anyway, I think this was a good first episode for the podcast. I hope my voice was pleasant enough. And I hope to see you again, but we'll close out with a quick Tonglen meditation. So most meditations will tell you to take in all the light and the love of the universe and exhale what doesn't serve you, stuff like that. But Tonglen is the opposite. In Tonglen, you intentionally take in the horror and evil of the world and the suffering of the world, and you exhale love and compassion. And this practice makes you sort of more like an engine of change. And it plants into your unconscious mind that instead of like resisting or avoiding suffering and hatred, you eat it, right? You consume it. And you respond with love if you can, That's what it's about. Changing how you respond, Instead of reacting, you respond with love. And that's what it does for your unconscious mind, and that's good for decision making and all that. But it gives you a sense of connection and letting go to all the stuff that's going on. So sit in a comfortable position. Try to have your back straight so you don't go to sleep, but be relaxed. Relax your body. Close your eyes. Okay. Just breathe in and out naturally. Just breathe in and out through the nose. Naturally. Relax as you breathe. Feel your place in the universe and realize you are the universe as you continue to breathe. And then breathe in the horror and suffering of the world. Exhale love and light. Breathe in the darkness and exhale light. Breathe in anxieties and exhale healing. Breathe in the pain. Exhale relaxation. As you breathe in darkness, you will exhale with the mantra in your mind, repeating that all is love and love is all in a pattern. Breathe in the darkness and exhale with the mantra, all is love. Breathe in the horror, love is all. You say it in your mind or you can say it out loud, but continue to breathe in the suffering and exhaling love. Breathing in the horror and exhaling compassion. Just keep breathing in and out at your own pace. As you keep breathing, remember you're becoming this engine of change. Remember you are connecting the dark and the light. As you keep breathing, you are becoming the engine of unification. merging the binaries with Christ consciousness, Buddha mind. Breathe in, exhale out. In with the horror, out with love. In and out with the horror. In with the horror, out with love. Take 3 final breaths. Breathe in the horror and exhale. All is love. In with the suffering. Love is all. In with the pain. All is love. All right, thank you. And I'll see you on the next episode of the DharmaDank Show podcast. Take care, everybody.